So, how do you build an empire that actually lasts? You might think it's all about armies and war, but what if the most powerful weapon was actually a strategy memo? Today, we're going to crack open just two verses of ancient scripture that lay out this surprisingly modern and, yeah, pretty ruthless playbook for imperial power.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Picture this King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. He's the most powerful man in the world, and he's just conquered the kingdom of Judah. He calls in his top official, a guy named Ashpenaz, and gives him an order. But listen, this is no ordinary command. This is a meticulously crafted job description. He's not looking for just any prisoners of war. He is headhunting.
And let's be absolutely clear on this. This was not some random roundup of people. This was a highly targeted recruitment drive, a strategic brain drain aimed right at the heart of the nation he had just defeated. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at the level of detail here. Nebuchadnezzar was looking for the complete package. He didn't just want captives, he wanted future government officials, diplomats, advisors, people who were not only brilliant and good-looking, but also had the social grace to navigate the cutthroat politics of his court. He was literally building his new government with his enemy's best and brightest talent. So the big question is, why? Why go to all this trouble? To really get the importance of this king's draft, we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. We have to understand the geopolitical chaos that brought these young men to Babylon in the first place. For decades, the kingdom of Judah was stuck. I mean, really stuck. They were caught in this deadly tug of war, a geopolitical vice being squeezed tighter and tighter by two of the ancient world's biggest superpowers. See, on one side, you had Egypt, kind of the old guard, the fading superpower that had controlled Judah for a long time. But then on the other side, you had the brand new Neo-Babylonian Empire. They were the rising star, aggressive, hungry, and they wanted it all. And Judah, they were just a pawn in this great game, and the game was about to come to a very abrupt end. And this timeline, it just shows you the terrifying speed of the collapse. In 609 BC, their king dies, and Judah falls under Egypt's control. Just 4 years later, boom, Babylon crushes Egypt, and suddenly Judah has a new, much more brutal master. And the very next year, that's when Daniel and his friends get shipped off in the first wave. We're talking less than a generation for a proud kingdom to be completely wiped off the map. So you see, taking these youths wasn't just a byproduct of war. Oh no, it was a calculated, multi-layered, and incredibly clever imperial strategy, a plan designed to secure his power for generations to come. Let's break this down. First up, political control. These were royal and noble kids. By holding them, Nebuchadnezzar had high-value hostages to keep Judah in line. Second, talent acquisition. You can't run a massive empire without a brilliant civil service, so he was importing the best foreign minds to make his own government stronger. And third, something Nebuchadnezzar probably had no idea he was even doing, he was fulfilling a prophecy made over a century before. And this wasn't just some prison sentence. It was a mandatory 3-year re-education program, a Babylonian college, if you want to call it that. They were going to be totally immersed in the language, the literature, the culture, everything. The goal was simple and it was brutal. Completely erase their Hebrew identity and replace it with a Babylonian one. Now, that third part of the strategy, the whole prophecy thing, this is where the story gets another fascinating layer. Because what happened to Daniel and his friends wasn't some random tragedy. If you knew their history, it was the chilling fulfillment of a warning given generations earlier. So the story goes like this. Over 100 years before any of this, King Hezekiah of Judah got incredibly sick but then recovered. In a moment of serious pride, he showed off all of his kingdom's treasures to some envoys from Babylon. Huge mistake. The prophet Isaiah shows up and gives him a chillingly specific prediction about what that foolish pride would cost his descendants. And it's not just from one source. The first-century historian Josephus recorded this prophecy. He makes it pretty clear what was foretold, that the royal line of Judah wouldn't just be taken captive, they would end up serving as eunuchs in the court of the Babylonian king. And the biblical text in 2 Kings is even more direct. It is a precise prediction. Now, fast forward over 100 years. Who does Nebuchadnezzar put in charge of this whole recruitment program? Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs. Now, in ancient courts, eunuchs were really powerful officials. Since they couldn't have families or start their own dynasties, they were considered the most loyal servants to the king. They ran the palace. So for this prophecy to come true in such excruciating personal detail, that's not a coincidence. So, when you put it all together, from the meticulous job search to the 3-year indoctrination, what you're seeing is a sophisticated, state-sponsored program of cultural assimilation. It was a strategy to drain a conquered nation of its best minds, break its spirit, and absorb its future leaders into the very machinery of the empire that destroyed their home. And this ancient strategy of literally reshaping people's identity, well, it forces us to ask a timeless question, one that echoes from Nebuchadnezzar's court right into our world today. When the culture around you is demanding that you conform, what part of you, what part of your identity refuses to be erased?